Welcome to Ring Talk, the weekly Goodwin Boxing show with myself, Martin Theobald, and coming up later is Steve Goodwin. Looking quite bearded this week. It's unintentional. Right, so let's crack on with what's happened in boxing this week, the boxing news. Let's start off with the Matchroom show from the weekend. So Lewis Ritson won. We're going to call it a win against Miguel Vasquez, former world champion. Vasquez must be fed up of coming over to the UK now. He was unfortunate not to get the win against Ahara Davis, and then picked up a loss at the weekend against Lewis Ritson in a fight that many have commented that Lewis Ritson was lucky to win. And I think he was lucky to win. I think that's a nice way of putting it. So the judging is going to take a lot of the headlines from this fight. It was, social media became alight with conversation about whether Terry O'Connor was looking at his phone or looking at a scorecard mid-round. Either way, you should be looking at the fight. Doesn't really matter what you're looking at. Robert Smith came out morning after, did an IFL TV interview. This might get me in trouble with the board, don't know. Very dismissive of fan views. I am a fan. I find it quite insulting. You know, the view that fans will only have a few beers on a Saturday night at 10 o'clock and then complain online about how the judging wasn't good enough or is corrupt or whatever. No one's saying it's corrupt. Well, actually, that's a lie. Someone's saying it's corrupt. But look, we're fans. We put the money into the sport. It's, we have every right to have a voice about poor performance, poor scoring, poor judging. There are professionals in the sport that agree with us as fans. It's quite insulting that ultimately, okay, we won't put our money in. We won't buy tickets. We won't watch shows. Then what? You've got no job. So look, have some respect for the fact that as fans, we are the lifeblood of the sport. If there were no fans watching, buying tickets, supporting boxers, supporting the sport, then there's no jobs. There's no infrastructure. There's no the organicness of boxing relies upon fans of the sport. So, yeah, it's massively insulting to fans to say you haven't got a clue and you're all just drinking at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night and you shouldn't have a voice. Nah, it's not for me. Not for me. I think that was really, really poor, personally. Only the views of me, not the views of Goodwin Boxing. Let's be clear about that. You know where to write to me. Elsewhere on the card, Cash Asfak lost, which was a bit of a shock to me, to Mark Leach, but brilliant for Mark Leach. Joe Laws also took a loss. So a lot of wins for the away corners, which is great to see. It's good. The card, in theory, beforehand, when you looked at it, it was all 1 to 4, 1 to 5, 1 to 10 for the home corners. So actually seeing the away corners pick up a fair few wins, brilliant. That's it stops, as much as we as fans can complain about cards looking very lopsided, and it's more by accident than design that the away corner does win, but it's great that the away corner wins at times. Final point on all of this from the Matchroom show at the weekend, Ellie Scottney was electric against Bet Connolly. Ellie Scottney, we discussed her last week in depth on the show. Steve's a massive fan. I'm a massive fan. I think the female sport of boxing has a new superstar ready to break out. She's a lovely girl. Comes across so well, so down to earth. She is down to earth. She's brilliant. Let's see more of her. Get her back out soon enough, and she can fight. Like, ignore everything about her personality. Ignore all that side of it. The girl can fight. Head over to America. Teofimo Lopes. I'd called it all through the week. Beat Lomachenko. New undisputed lightweight champion, Teofimo Lopes. We'll discuss it further with Steve later on, but Lomachenko failed to turn up for the first 6 rounds. Started to pick it up towards the back end of the fight, by which point Lopes was too far ahead. I scored it to Lopes 7 rounds to 5. Fantastic performance. The sport has a superstar waiting to break out now. Final point of the week, WBC have announced a new weight division. Now, I'm struggling here to see the outrage that you're seeing online. I'm in the Robert Smith category. Don't see what fans' issues are with it. For a long, long time, boxing fans have complained that the jump from light heavyweight at 175 through to cruiserweight, the 200-pound mark, is too big. The WBC are putting in a new weight category, 190 to 220 pounds. So it cuts down that cruiserweight limit. So now you can be in that 190 to 220 pounds category, and then anything above 220 will be heavyweight. I don't know what they're going to call this new category. I haven't really looked into it. So now you can be a light heavyweight up to 175 pounds, and then you can go up to 190, whatever that new category is going to be called, and then 190 to 220 is going to be just underneath heavyweight. So it does get rid of some of the issue around those boxers that aren't quite big enough to be a heavyweight, aren't quite big enough to be a cruiserweight, are too big to be a light heavyweight. So someone like Isaac Chamberlain, for instance, would never make it down into light heavyweight, but is he really big enough to be a cruiserweight? Probably not. You're messing with some big boys in there. This might be ideal for him. 190 pounds, sits around that. Someone like Deontay Wilder, he's he's a small heavyweight, 205 pounds, something like that, 210. He can come down into this 190 to 220 category. It'd be interesting. You could get some new matchups. So I don't see the outrage out of it. Yes, it's a WBC making up more titles. But for a long time, people have said, that gap from light heavyweight 175 through to cruiserweight up to 200 is too big. 25-pound weight division. So this cuts out some of it. It cuts out 10 pound of it and creates that category, that space for people that aren't naturally one or the other. So let's see how it rolls. But I'm okay with it. So now we're going to go into the bits with Steve and I. And we're going to talk about Goodwin Boxing. We're going to be joined by Jumaane Camero. We've got loads of stuff going on. So we'll see you on the other side.
Here we go.
And we're in with myself, Martin, again, and with Steve. How are you?
I'm all good, mate. How are you keeping?
I'm good. How's your weekend?
Good. Boxing oriented. Just stayed in and watched boxing. It was quite entertaining in the end. It was Saturday night, wasn't it?
You got up, didn't you, Sunday morning for it?
Did you?
Yeah, I was up. I had football at 11:30, and then I got like a vat of coffee and I couldn't sleep after it. So I was up from like 4 o'clock in the morning through the entire day at that point.
That was good. I mean, it was good to watch. Enjoyed the fight. We'll come on to that in a minute. But big announcement for us of the week is, as big as an announcement we wanted to do last week, is Deion Jumah challenges against Chris Billam Smth for the British and Commonwealth titles on the White Povetkin undercard.
Indeed. In fact, you did announce this last week, and then Josh cut it out.
Because I announced it before Matchroom did, and it's disrespectful. So yeah, so it was. So they announced it a day later. So it was all good, but it's a cracking fight. Cracking fight.
It is. So let's touch on that. British and Commonwealth cruiserweight titles.
Yeah.
So Deion, for those that don't know, Deion Jumah, English cruiserweight champion, defeated.
Former ABA champion as well as an amateur.
Isn't he two-time ABA champion?
Two-time ABA champion, yeah.
Defeated Wadi Camacho for that English title.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that cemented his position as a cruiserweight.
Yes.
Because Deion's pulled me up on this before. And I've had that conversation face to face with Deion, where he's pulled me up on doubting his credentials as a cruiserweight. And that performance for me got rid of those doubts and cemented the fact that he is a cruiserweight. He was a light heavyweight and he's moved up. To me, he is a cruiserweight now. And this is an opportunity to break out.
Well, that's it. This is his defining fight. I mean, he beat Sam Hyde, which gave the opportunity for him to push us in this position, because there is no way that Eddie Hearn wanted to feature Deion Jumah on a card, so we had to force them into it. So we had to manoeuvre Deion, because there was no way they were giving Deion a shot of anybody without us forcing the position. So we managed to do that. Deion took advantage of that. He had to do it the hard way, because obviously Joe Gallagher paid an awful lot of money for an English title fight. So we went up there. So Deion Deion unfortunately took the money and took the win as well. Now he fights Billam Smth, who he's beaten as an amateur, and going forward, it's a brilliant opportunity for him. And listen, I'm not going to sit here slating off Chris Billam Smth. No way. I think he's a cracking fighter. Deion also is a cracking fighter, and I think it's a brilliant fight for the undercard. Obviously, we think Deion's going to win. We think Deion's above this level, but he's got to prove it in November on the big fight night.
Yeah, and you mentioned that Sam Hyde card. People know Sam Hyde from the Richard Riakporhe fight, where he was beating Riakporhe by most accounts, and then got caught with that cracking right hand that kind of broke the orbital bone, I think.
Yeah.
Or certainly damaged it fairly badly. Deion went away to a leisure centre up north, off TV, and beat Sam Hyde on points.
On the line through that means he beats Billam Smth, because Billam Smth lost to Riakporhe, whereas Deion beat the guy that was beating Riakporhe apart from the punch. So on a line through that, you've got to put Deion in as favourite, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, as we've seen at the weekend where judging comes under scrutiny and comes under the microscope, something that isn't being televised, it was recorded, to be fair.
Yeah, Joe Gallagher put that out with full credit to him. So
yeah, but I mean, these things can be brushed over fairly easily if they're not on TV. So for Deion to have gone there and done that tells you that it was a decent job that he did on Sam Hyde. Yeah. It was a very close fight, and as you say, credit to Joe for putting that out. But yeah, I mean, Deion, you could easily say he could have got screwed on the cards up there, and he didn't. So he's a legit fighter.
Yeah, I mean, I think we go there with every chance of winning. I hope we get a better rub of the green than Miguel Vasquez got. But that's a separate issue. But yeah, I think if what we want is a fair rub on the judges' scorecards, and hopefully after this weekend or the last weekend gone, that we will get that.
What you really want is not for the judges' scorecards to be required at all.
Exactly, but if it is, we just want a fair shake.
Yeah. And as you kind of touched on there as well, Chris Billam Smth is no mug. Chris Billam Smth is a quality fighter, quality operator.
With great trainer in Shane McGuigan, it's a great fight. He's a quality boxer, and so is Deion. It's just a great fight for the card. We think we're favourites. It's going to be a great fight on the night, and hopefully this is the first step of Deion to break through here and to break onto world level, because we think he deserves to be on world level.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got this coffee for my birthday. You brew it in a bag, and then you pour it into your cup. So it's been sat here brewing, and then I pour it from there. It's been sat here brewing for about 10 minutes now.
Is that the first one you've had?
No, I had a couple. They're really nice.
Are they?
Yeah, it's from Guatemala, apparently. It's probably from Lidl, I don't know. But yeah, you do that. Sorry, a little interlude for you. Yeah, coffee brewer. It's made from sustainable products, apparently. So,
there we go. So it's an ethical product. So that's good. That's a plus. That's a plus point. That's a plus point.
Coffee brewer, come and sponsor us. Sponsor your shows. So let's touch on. We've got coming up. Jumaane Camero is going to come and talk to us. Yeah. And he's going to chat about his upcoming fight, tell us about his career a bit. Fascinating character is Jumaane, and I'll talk more about Jumaane when Jumaane's on, because Jumaane makes me smile, makes me laugh. He's just a decent bloke. That's
100%.
He's the only man I've ever seen walking around York Hall in his fight shorts and a suit jacket.
He's a good. Listen, he's got a tough fight coming out. Paddy Donovan is supposed to be the real deal. So we'll talk more about that. In a while. Yeah. Let's review Saturday.
Yeah, let's touch on the Matchroom card. So let's work. When I say from the bottom, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just working my way towards that Lewis Ritson fight. I can't remember the order of the fights, but I'm going to start with the one that stands out in my mind the most, Ellie Scotney.
What did we say last week? Future star in the making. She is a future star in the making. She is the female boxer out there that has it all. The one,
Yep.
if there's one female boxer that has it all, she has it all. And I mean everything, the personality, the skill set, the technique. She has the lot for a debut. She has power. She has everything. She has everything you can want in a star of the sport. And I think she'll go on to be the biggest female star that we've seen out so far in the professional ranks. But I think it's just a small baby step, but I think there's so much more to come from her. And we've got some great fighters out there, but I think she could be the biggest and the best of them all.
And this is going to sound really disrespectful to others, and I don't necessarily mean that, because there are female fighters that I pay an interest in, but I think she's going to be easy to give a shit about.
Yeah, no, I get that.
I don't think is necessarily the case for all female fighters.
I think you can take the word female out of that. I think you can say that's the same for all fighters. I don't think that really is relative to females. I think it's relative to so many fighters. I think there's only certain boxers that you would watch that you're not emotive with, or you're not, I don't manage, that you would look there and identify with. A lot of them fall into all similar veins, if you know what I mean. But they don't stand out. She stands out, and I think that's important. She's got the lot.
I agree. I mean, that for a debut, you know, there were no nerves. There were, well, if there were, she hid them very well. She came out and, you know, it wasn't 100 miles an hour like you see from some people's debuts. It wasn't in her shell like you see from some people's debuts. It was just a very professional performance. Levels above Beck Connolly, and Beck Connolly isn't, you know, a terrible fighter by any means. But yeah, like, you watch her and you think, right, good. Like, I'll watch this again. I'll happily watch this again.
Well, Eddie signed a good one there, so that's good. But I thought there was some. I mean, with the next one was you got the Kane Baker fight, and I was glad to see Kane win after what he had last time. It was good to see Kane Baker come and win. Tough guy, took a fight on short notice last time, didn't he? And lost a close fight, and he came out and got his win on TV. So full credit to Kane Baker.
Can I ask a question? Actually, I'm going to ask two questions. Should it have been on TV? Given that it's Kane Baker, who, with all respect, we know what level Kane Baker's at now, against some geezer from Liverpool that is only there because he's Tony Bellew's mate. Should it be on TV?
It was competitive, so it's better than a lot of the other crap we've been watching lately on TV from various promoters and various.
That's fair.
So
fair.
The answer is on paper, no, but some of these fights are better than the dross that we end up having to watch. So I'd argue, yes, I'd rather see a competitive fight with lower level fighters than these blow away one round wins against hopeless matched opponents. So I'll say yes, it is good to be on TV.
All right. And would you have put the other fella, and for the life of me, I can't remember his name, Tony Bellew's fighter, would you have put him in at a few days' notice, given that he was, 3-0, I think?
Absolutely not. No, I don't. No, I wouldn't have done that. But I'm not the Tony Bellew. This is the point, because this is no criticism of Tony Bellew. I don't want to criticise people, but being a good fighter and being a world champion doesn't make you a good boxing manager. Different skill set. Because you're a fighter doesn't make you a good manager.
So what then about the argument this lad has 3 kids at home and 1 kid on the way and kind of needed the money?
Well, then he should have got himself a job in the last 6 months, because he wouldn't have got that well paid then. You know, he's probably got the equivalent of, what's he got paid? For
a couple of months' work at Asda.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if he'd gone to work for the last 6 months, like I've been telling my professionals to do, they wouldn't be desperate to take a fight for money where it doesn't help their career. So do what I've told my boxers to do: go and work through this period. So I would say that for boxers out there, and I'm talking about Renault, don't just sign with a manager because they've got a name.
Yeah, I would agree. Fair play to him. He took a punt and it didn't pay off.
Hopefully the kid will come back. But no, I don't think that's, I didn't feel that was that's not how I want my fighters that I've got. If my fighters are looking for paydays and to be on the road, it's different than the ones that are looking to try and win. So, for example, Linus Udofia, we won when we went on. Deion Jumah has a good chance of winning when he goes on. The other lads just want to fight. It's different. Jumaane's fully fit and ready to go, and he just wants to fight. Whether he wins or not, we'll see. But would I put one of my prospects in at 3 days' notice with a kid who's fought 8 rounds 3 weeks before? No.
I found it weird personally, but
that's what you make. You employ your manager, make decisions. Tony will probably learn as a manager from that.
Yep. Who else got? Thomas Patrick Ward against Thomas Asomba.
Yeah, Asomba exploited. I mean, Asomba was a technical draw, wasn't it? But Asomba exploited flaws in Ward, didn't he?
I don't get the Ward hype. I mean, what is he now? About 25-0 or something?
9 wins and 1 draw.
His 30th fight is Thomas Asomba in a 10-rounder.
He's never going anywhere because he's got no power. He's only had 4 stoppages. You don't reach the top with no power. So, look, you're building, but what are you building him for?
Yeah, there's only so long you can fight the Thomas Asombas of this world. And he was getting handled by Thomas, I thought.
I agree.
If that went the distance.
And Thomas is up in weight. So I think Thomas Ward has been shown for where he is.
Fair play to Sonny Edwards, though. I think that showed how well Sonny Edwards handled Thomas Asomba.
I really agree. It does put Sonny Edwards in a good light, I thought, that fight. So, but Sonny Edwards is quality fight. But he's obviously a lot better than Thomas Ward is, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Joe Law's got hammered by Ryland Charlton. Although I
said last week.
Yeah, but I do want to throw something in here. I was tipped off on the Thursday before the fight that Laws looked very ill, and by somebody in the bubble. And you've got to remember, Laws, and I do say he's got a lot of refining to do. But as an amateur, look, he was known to be teak tough. You could throw a kitchen sink at him, he wouldn't move. That body shot was a good body shot. We're going to give credit to Ryland Charlton in a minute. But in my opinion, he wasn't right. He was not right. And I'm not saying he'd have beaten Ryland Charlton anyway, because Ryland Charlton I thought was outstanding. But something was wrong with him. And I was told 2 days before that he's not, there's something wrong with him visually. He doesn't look right, doesn't look well. And that was from somebody in the bubble. Now, he's not come up with any excuses, Laws, full credit to him, or whether it's true or not. But the person who told me that is a very reliable source. And he said, Laws doesn't look like he's capable of standing up in the ring, let alone having a fight. So I'm sure that will come out in the wash if that's true. But Ryland Charlton took his opportunity, was fully fit, and I think full credit to him. And it was good to see, for the independent viewer, him go and cause an upset. Although I think Laws will be back, but I do think he needs to stop these haymakers and he needs to box like he did as an amateur, because this is crazy.
I'll give credit to Eddie at that point quickly, because that's quite rare that I would do such a thing. But when he gets someone like Charlton turn up and does sort of, upturn the books, he'll typically use him again for someone else. Yeah. And then, if he does the job again, he may end up on the kind of Matchroom roster. So I think Charlton would be one to keep an eye out for in the future.
I did text Eddie and say, how about doing K Prosper for Ryland Charlton for an English title? But he didn't reply.
Eddie, get back to him.
Because I thought that would make a great fight for Sky if he wants to put Charlton on. Because when Charlton wins that, don't give him another 6 rounder, give him a title shot. And we'd be happy to oblige. So I think he deserves a title shot after doing something like that. And K Prosper would be up for that. So the key was, I did text him and say, look, let's have a go. Because K wants to fight. You should give Ryland an opportunity. Don't feed him. Give him a title opportunity. And we said to Eddie Hearn, we'll do that fight. But he hasn't come back to me. So he's either thinking about it or he doesn't think it's a wonderful idea. So,
or you'd end up with Charlton against Dalton Smith.
That's more likely to happen.
Which is okay.
Dalton Smith, they didn't want to put him with K Prosper, so put him in with Ryland Charlton. That's fine. But wouldn't it be nicer to give Ryland Charlton a chance of a title fight? Because even if he for the English, he can fight Dalton Smith, couldn't he? So that's my view. I think it would be good to give these fighters a reward with a title shot rather than feed him to another prospect. That's my view.
Agree.
That's my view. I pointed out last week that Case Ashfaq is overrated.
And Mark Leach went about his business.
Well, we said it. We said Ashfaq was overrated, and Mark Leach proved that to be the case. Never got the hype around Case Ashfaq. Never got it ever. He doesn't punch hard enough. He's technically flawed, and I've always said since the start of his career, and I remember when he was with Hay at the start, this guy is not. He's got an amateur record, but he's one of these amateurs that's never going to make it as a pro. And you can come back, but he's still never going to make it as a pro. He's got a level.
Yep.
And it's not going to be British title and beyond. So that was him. And then we got the Ritz and Vasquez fight, which I think everybody in the world has said everything that needs to be said now. I think, the scorecards are the scorecards. Robert Smith's come out and said what he thinks. We've all got opinions. For me, what's said is going to be said. I think that, and I would say this is important. Robert, when you're head of an organisation or when you are a football manager like Arsene Wenger was, you tend to defend your people to the hilt in public. And what you do in private, it may be different to what you do in public. But in public, you support the people that you work with. And that's what he's doing. So I don't ever think, maybe I think the delivery may not have been as ideal, and it might have been 24 hours later, he might have delivered that a bit better. But I understand what he's trying to do. The board have called a hearing now for Terry O'Connor. He's been called in for a hearing. So I think it's next week. But you've got to remember there was another card that gave Ritson the win as well. It's not just Terry. So you look at Michael Alexander as well, because and it isn't about subjective scoring. That wasn't about subjective scoring. There's nobody out there that gave it to Vasquez. I don't know anybody that gave it to Vasquez apart from Ritz's corner, which I thought was appalling. And Lewis Ritz is a really lovely kid, and I wish him the best, but that's not good for boxing. And look, I'm not saying there's any corruption going on, but in any other walk of life, if it's not corrupt, and I'm not saying it is, then it's incompetent. And if it's incompetent, in most jobs, you'd lose your job, wouldn't you? You'd lose your job. However, everybody can make mistakes, but I'm just shocked as to how that can be scored that way. What did I give Ritson? 2 or 3 rounds at a push?
Yeah. Everyone can make mistakes. Not everyone can make mistakes relatively regularly and keep their jobs.
Well, he also had Thomas Ward. Look at the scores now. He had Thomas Ward ahead. I'm just looking at the scorecards now. I mean,
there's a litany of offences.
Michael Alexander had it a draw. Marcus McDonald had it about right, 3 rounds ahead to a Somber. Terry O'Connor gave it by 2 rounds to Ward. But the 2 judges that were responsible for the Lewis Ritz and Vasquez have also erred on the side of the home fighter in the Ward is Somber fight. So Marcus McDonald, who has scored it for Vasquez and is Somber, has scored it for the away fighter. But it's the same referee that's given both fights to the away fighter, and same 2 referees that have erred on the side of the home fighter. That's the question. So you've got to look at both.
I'm not going to be the first one to point out that Terry O'Connor was there for, and marking and scoring, Tyson Fury, John McDermott, for instance. We know how that ended. There's a multitude of these fights. However, I'm just a fan who drinks and then at 10 o'clock goes on social media and rants about it, apparently. So
only one of those referees I can comment on.
That's what fans do.
Yeah, but the only one I can comment on is Marcus McDonald, because he scores at York Hall, and I know Marcus scores it as he sees it.
Yeah.
No, there's no one. He's a brilliant referee and a brilliant judge and a very fair judge, and I know that firsthand. I don't have Terry O'Connor and Michael Alexander down in our area, so I don't know about their normal judging. I don't know enough. But I do know that Marcus McDonald is a very, very good and fair judge, and he scored both of those for the away fighters.
Yeah, well, let's see some different faces in there. Let's see a rotation around the A-star referees. And I know there's a it's deemed to be a bit of an old boys club around only A-star referees are the ones that vote for the A referees to come up into the A-star category, blah, blah, blah.
Although to be fair, O'Connor and Michael Alexander did both give it to Mark Leach. So they did give it to one away fighter. So, it's...
That would have been difficult to cover up. Ashfaq was dropped.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
So, no, I mean... I found the comments by Robert Smith, personally, as a boxing fan, pretty disrespectful.
I genuinely haven't watched it, so I've heard what people have said, and I don't think Robert's had good press from that interview, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think they were poorly worded comments, and, privately, maybe he kind of feels differently about it, and it was the wrong time and the wrong moment to do that interview that he did. I don't think it came across well on behalf of the Boxing Board of Control. And I think as fans, we should consider, if that's how we're viewed by people that run the sport, then at times you have to say, fuck the sport, would be my personal view. In that, there's only, as fans, we feel ripped off in various ways. Whether that's, too many pay-per-views or TV products that are one-sided walkover events.
Yes, exactly.
There are only so many times as fans you want to be disrespected through these things. And I think, personally, the board and those involved need to be a little bit more careful about how things are worded to people that put the money in to fund the sport and keep it whirring.
No, I think that's really fair. I think that is really fair. I think that is... I haven't seen it, but listen, I do, and I say you've seen it. I think he's got the worst job in the world, that man. I don't.
Oh, I agree.
For love nor money, I wouldn't want to do his job. And I guess at times he loses it, and I think, but it's an awful job. I don't know why anybody would do it. It's horrific.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have a world of sympathy for him for. And firsthand the amount of stuff that he has to do in his job that are legal papers, nothing to do with boxing particularly, stacks of legal papers, writs that come in, I'm sure in his ideal world, he could work a 9 to 5 and solve the problems in boxing. That isn't what he gets his time to do, as we know. And I feel for him to that end. Doesn't mean that fans should be on the wrong end of the stick about it.
He shouldn't have brought fans into that. That's probably. I'm sure that on reflection, he's probably thinking I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. Anyway, that'll get me tugged probably anyway. So I better be quiet.
No, I don't know about that, but no, I just think sometimes people also. Sometimes we say things at the heat of the moment that we don't really mean, and I think I genuinely don't believe he looks at people like that. I've met him loads of times. I don't believe that he looks at boxing fans like that. I think he's trying to defend his people, and he's probably not come across the way he really wanted to. But it's one of those things. But it doesn't take away the fact that fight was wrong, and it will just turn people off the sport.
Yeah, and also to turn it all around as well, for a fan's perspective, all that I know of Robert Smith, he's a good bloke. He does good things for the sport. He does... he has the best interests of those that are taking part and those that are getting between the ropes at heart. He always wants to do that. And so, as fans, let's give him another opportunity not to say those things again. Just write it off. But, that's my views on it.
No, I think it's fair. It's fair. So the last thing to review was Lomachenko Lopes.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, we've always said, I remember when I saw Lopes with Josh in Dallas in January 2019, we came away on ring talk. I think I come back and I said, that guy's a future star of world boxing. And then when they were matching Richard Comey with Lopes, I said, don't do it. And he was telling me, this is a big mistake. Keep away from this kid. He's very good, and he showed how good he was. And he's young, right? How much he could dominate the sport.
Yeah. So how did you score it?
I scored it 8-4.
Okay, I had it 7-5.
Yeah.
But
I think I gave him the last round and the first 7 rounds. I think.
okay,
Yeah.
I had first 6 and the last. But I'm always overly critical of the fighter that I want to win. So whenever I'm sat and actually scoring a fight, I always end up scoring consciously against the fighter that I'm in support of. But I've seen criticism of it as a fight. Like, it was one of those fights to me where it was at the 10th round. I was like, shit, it feels like it's only just started. I could have another.
You're not. That was a technical fight. It was never going to be blood and guts and up and down. I was really. I paid the pay-per-view. I went on.
Yep.
I didn't stream. I paid the pay-per-view. Paid for it. Was well happy with what I paid for, and I thought it was well worth the money. We're going to bring Jumaane in to see what he thought of the fight. But yeah, that was really my view on it. So
here he is,
Jumaane. He's fixing audio.
Hello.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Sorry?
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Very good. We've got you against a brick wall there. Where are you?
I'm outside my gym, just in the middle of my session.
Have we interrupted you?
Well, we just asked.
No, not at all.
Did you watch Lomachenko Lopes?
I did. I didn't watch it live, but I caught up with it straight away, and awesome, amazing fight. Like, I think like most people, that Lomachenko started late, but that's not because he chose to. I think that was very much because of Lopes and Lopes just performed amazingly. It was such a mature performance, I think.
Yeah, I think Lopes hit him so hard early on that it put Lomachenko off.
Yeah, absolutely.
All those spaces that Lomachenko would typically fill, he was scared almost to fill them, and that left that void for Lopes just to keep him on the end of his jab. And it seemed to disrupt the tempo that Lomachenko likes to create.
Exactly, and it's an advantage which people haven't been using, because let's not forget he's quite a small person to be fighting at that weight. Not to say he can't, but you need to be able to use your advantage, and Lopes used that. You know, I believe he can go up as well. So it's gonna be interesting. It's looking like he's got a great future ahead anyway.
How high do you reckon he can go? Welter? He's got that broad back about him, hasn't he? Like, he's got quite a big frame.
He is young. He is young, so I reckon he'll be able to fill out into welter. Not straight away, of course, but yeah, I can't see why he can't compete at that. He's got good skill. Obviously, the likes of someone like Spence at the moment, I think will be a bit too big for him. But a few years down the line, I can't see why not.
But imagine in the meantime if we had Josh Taylor or Reggie Prograis.
Amazing. It's a crazy division. It's a crazy division, isn't it? I'm loving it.
All he's got to do is go up one division and we get those fights. That'd be incredible. Yeah. But in the meantime,
he beats them both.
Do you think?
Beats them both.
But you still want to see like Gervonta Davis.
I'd love to see him fight Gervonta Davis.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be explosive, man.
I'm a massive Davis fan.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. Right, let's come on to you though, Jumaane. Right. So you're training with, are you with Brian at the moment?
I'm with Sean.
Mr. Earls.
Mr. Earls, yeah.
Send him my love.
The granddad himself. He's not actually that miserable, don't worry. He's gonna.
So you're getting ready for your fight with Paddy, and I can't remember his
Paddy
surname. Donovan, that's it. Steve's been saying, since he's announced this, that he's a very highly thought of fighter. Despite me forgetting his surname 20 seconds ago. Sorry.
Yeah, I've heard the same from a lot of people, and that's good. I mean, it's like Lopes was saying before. We're not here to just fight bums and things like that. And fortunately, COVID has caused boxing to kind of explode into that kind of situation where there's more 50-50s, more exciting fights. You're seeing a lot of people being shown for what they actually are instead of just their records, you know. So I think if he is the real deal, I'm a great test for him. If he's not, you're definitely going to see on that night.
But you know, you say about boxing has created COVID has created the situation whereby people have to take real fights. You're someone that's taken real fights for a long time now.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you started off on that prospect trail and you learned your trade, and then, you know, whether it's because you got fed up with the ticket selling side of it or whatever, like, you suddenly went from that side of it to, right, just chuck me in with the hardest people at the hardest opportunities. Freddie Kiwitt at welterweight at, like, what, 4 days notice, was it?
Oh, that was a mad one. I loved it. But
Live on Channel 5.
Those kind of 5-6 fights or however long it was a great experience for me, you know, just kind of being able to get in, no worries, actually think about my trade, even though I wasn't like, what's the best way to explain it? I wasn't on top form because of when things were coming. I was just kind of taking it for the experience, which is great. But it's definitely helped me coming into it now and going forward later. Just being able to kind of deal with different people, different weights, what kind of shots they're taking with. It's great to go around sparring everybody. But when you're actually fighting as well, it's a complete different aspect that you can take from it. So, it's definitely brought me on quite a bit. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, so I mean, some of those fights you've taken on, the likes of Jeffrey Afori, Adrian Martin, the Freddie Kiwitt fight, you know, you've not won all of them, but every time you've gone in there, short notice or long notice, you've put up a performance, you've left fans remembering your name, and you've come away from it in a better standing than what you were before. Definitely.
I mean, we have to remember that this is an entertainment sport, right? So at the end of the day, we're trying to give a show to the fans. I don't think it should be at the risk of one's health, obviously, but if you can make it exciting, I think you should. You know, I just really enjoy it, and I'm glad the fans can enjoy it, do enjoy it, and can take something from it as well. So hopefully it'll get me on more shows. Sometimes
so this fight you've got coming up, what date are you fighting on?
It's the 11th of November, I believe.
And what weight are you going in? Are you going in at your ideal weight for it?
No, I'm going in at the welterweight limit, which is 66.7, which is above my ideal weight. I want to be at 140, so 63 and a half.
Yeah.
But we're happy. I mean, fight's a fight. It's not. I don't think it's going to be a massive difference. It's said that he's a big puncher, but again, I think at this weight, I could probably withstand punches better. So fingers crossed. It is in my favor.
We've seen you take punches off lads that, you know, at the time of you fighting them were renowned as big punchers, the likes of Kiwitt. And you walked him down.
Yeah, exactly. So it's gonna be a lot for him to bring with. How you doing? It's Barry.
Is that Barry G? I know, Barry Connell.
You're on Goodwin.
Oh man. How are you, mate?
I'm good. How are you, mate?
How's
Good.
things?
Yeah, no, it.
I'm good. How are you, Steve?
Yeah.
Sorry about
that. Former African champion. Before Lennox Lewis.
I don't know. He's got it.
Can you move a goal?
I can. So you can move it. Yeah.
Steve, all Jumaane does is cost me money and time.
Did you hear that?
All Jumaane does is cost him money and time.
Go home.
Yeah, so that's our gym.
So we know Barry will get you in like tip-top condition for this fight as well, as he's renowned for doing.
He always is. I mean, the team I've got around me has been amazing to begin with. Barry's amazing with his fitness training and his boxing knowledge and everything. Sean's brought a new dynamic with his kind of the way he sees things, his kind of technical ability and his tactics towards any fight as well. Brian's always amazing. He's always there for me as well. What's been different as well, I've been able to bring in a lot more into my team. So, like, my strength and conditioning's been top notch. My nutrition's been a lot better. And just been getting some more sponsors on board to allow me to do a bit more with myself. You know, trying to get some massages, etc., etc. And before you kind of think you just kind of do boxing, and yeah, you do at one point, but until you like take it seriously and get a good team around you, then you're just kind of going with the flow. So it's been nice to actually feel the difference of all these small different bits.
Who are the sponsors, Jumaane? Who are the sponsors? Make sure they get mentioned.
It's G Cave Clothing, who's the new sponsor actually. They've got awesome gear, honestly. Like, I started wearing them recently, just getting some more orders. And some of the kit, which is just like, I can't describe to you. You guys actually need to buy it and then go out with it and feel how luxurious it actually is.
What an advert. Go on, GK Clothing. Go there now.
Go get it. Click on. Real Power One. He's been awesome. Giving me he's given me boxing gear such as Rats, which I've been promoting, and like different bits as well. Clothing again, more geared towards training and boxing. It's awesome his story actually, because he's gone literally abroad to different parts of the world to actually find the different materials that actually can help a boxer. And honestly, I don't know the science behind it, but he really goes into it, and I love that passion, to be honest. Of course, Barry and State of Mind, the gym, it's been amazing during lockdown. So been able to get time when there's no one around, so there's no problems there. So many. Perform 365 is my strength and conditioning. Again, done a great job whilst we've not been able to really see each other. Boxing BOS, who's, if you know me, you know my promotion. My promotion on myself is appalling. So yes. he's really picked me up. It's been nice. It's been nice there. Yeah,
but you've done a brilliant job of shouting those sponsors out. Fair play.
Yeah, honestly, man. Because I don't really take people on. Well, I say take people on. They take me on, but I can't create relationships for the sake of just creating a relationship. It needs to have some sort of meaning behind it, you know. So
you have a value match.
Yeah, I really appreciate the value they brought.
Excellent. Right, so we'll leave you to it, Jumaane. Get back to your training. Go and concentrate on November. Good luck against Paddy. All the best, man. And it's been a pleasure chatting to you. And
thank you, guys.
Yeah, we wish you well.
I'll wait to see you guys again.
This is mine.
Catch you in a bit.
Thanks a lot.
You take care.
Bye-bye. So we're going to move on now to a weekly rant. And then
my weekly rant. Very specific one this week. So, here it comes.
Martin's weekly rant.
My weekly rant. So I was meant to be cutting down on these, wasn't I? And then stuff happens and it annoys me. So my rants are back again. So this week I need to rant about the use of the term downloading data. So used historically, I think it probably started around the Mayweather era. But now people seem to specifically use it about Lomachenko. Now, let's start this caveated by the fact that Lomachenko is a genius. There is no denying this. There is no questioning this. Lomachenko's amateur record, Lomachenko's professional record is not to besmirch any of that whatsoever. On record, Lomachenko's a genius. But every single boxer in the sport is taking information in every second of the round, whether that's the speed of their opponent's jab, whether that's the power of the jab, whether it's the speed of the hook, whether it's the timing of the 1-2. They're all learning through every second of every round what their opponent is doing, and they're feeding that information then back through the head, and it's telling the body what to do, and they're trying to learn from that information. They're not downloading fucking data. They're not computers. People use the term downloading data. Oh, Lomachenko's using round 1 and 2 to download data because they want to sound like they're knowledgeable about something, about the sport, about boxing. It makes them sound really clever. No, you sound like a dick. Imagine you go and watch somebody going and crossing the road and they go to step out, and as they do it, a car comes along and they stop. Now, do you look at that person and say, oh, they were downloading data there? No, of course you wouldn't. You'd be locked up. You'd be in a mental asylum very, very quickly. Because it's stupid. It's an absolutely stupid saying. What they've done is they've looked and they've gone, no. They've learned, they've waited, and then they wait for the crossing. It's the same with everything in life. I don't sit in an office and look at a colleague of mine going for a training session, and when they come out, ask them if they've downloaded data. Because it's mad. It's mad. So let's not use that term to try and sound clever about someone like Lomachenko in boxing. Please, it's banned. Henceforth, forever, gone.
We're back. That was Jumaane, who's probably the most chilled individual going. And I always remember Jumaane for when he fought Freddie Kiwitt. He then came out on the piss up in Manchester the day after with Sam O'Reilly and Craig Scott and various others, Terry. But he came up with Sam and Craig for Eubank versus Groves. Yeah, came out with us for the evening. It was great fun as well. He was good company for the night. So we're going to move on to questions and answers. So we'd asked for various questions from people around the Twitter sphere, and we got some. So we're going to run through them, and we'll start with the one from last week that came in a little bit late, and I haven't forgotten it, Tim Brown. So we're going to go through it now. So now Jack Fincham has turned pro. How far can each of the Love Island trio get? So for those who don't know, Jack Fincham, who he was with, wasn't he with Danny Dyer's daughter? Have I made that up? Yeah. So didn't he apply for his license and get turned down, and now he's got a license? Or have I made that up?
I think he made that. He was a reasonable amateur, so there's no reason he'd have ever got turned down.
No, fair enough.
Listen, it may have happened, but he's got a reasonable enough fights as an amateur not to get turned down. So there's no logic for the board to have turned him down.
All right. So out of these three, how far can they each get? And I'll leave one of the names till last. First one being Tommy Fury.
So of the three, Tommy Fury gets the furthest. The Fury name will ensure he's doing that. They are matching him ultra carefully. They came to me the other day and said, we want an opponent for Tommy Fury. So Darryl Church was our name that we put forward, who would quite happily take that fight, but no. So what level of opponents are they really looking for? Because Darryl is a competent fighter, would give him a good test, but they must be looking for an absolute knockover job, mustn't they?
So for those that don't know, Darryl Church has fought Southern Area level, come up short a little bit when he's fought Southern Area, but, you know, not disgraced himself in the process. So they're looking below that. Okay. Tommy Fury didn't really have it.
None of them are going to reach the heights because Tommy Fury may reach a reasonable level, but he's not going to reach the highest level, because if you don't want to fight Darryl Church and have a proper fight, it's his third or fourth fight, I think, I mean, Willie Hutchinson would have fought Darryl Church on his fourth fight. So, in reality, I think Tommy Fury probably goes the furthest of all three, but I don't think any of the three reach massive heights. But Tommy Fury will probably get matched and win a WBO European against a Polish road sweep or something like that. So that's probably not.
Yeah. And I mean, Tommy Fury has all the advantages going for him, doesn't he? And he's got the Fury name. He's signed to a big promoter, and he's around a good setup, a good camp. He's a full-time pro, I believe. He's got all of.
I think he's decent. He's all right, but he's not going to win a British title. Let's put it that way.
Right. Jack Fincham.
I don't know that much about him, but he's a competent amateur. What does he do? Probably gets to 6-0 and quits.
Yeah, so he's fighting under the Ultimate Boxer banner, isn't he? They've signed him.
He'll just recycle the wins until he gets stepped up in class, and maybe he'll want to forge a career in reality TV, so that it can help him do that. I still believe that that's his main career, and I think he'll just win a few fights because he's still, as a reality star, him and Danny Dyer have still got plenty of money to be earned. They're still sought after. They're with a good marketing company, and I wouldn't be surprised if boxing is part of the marketing for the reality TV. But what do I think? He'll be matched very carefully. He'll get to 5 and 6-0, and depending on how his career is going in the TV world, will determine whether he pushes on or whether he retires as an undefeated professional.
And Idris Virgo?
Carries on beating really, really bad quality, unprepared opposition, and loses as soon as he fights anybody with a pulse.
Yep. Or gets offered 100 grand and bottles it. Question from Tony Chambers. Have you ever asked for a different judge or referee for one of your fighters based on how that official has performed in the past?
No, because you can't do that at our level. You get what you get. You get the referees and judges according to the board. And in 10 years of being involved in shows, I've never asked for change. I've always trusted the judges and refs to do the right thing.
Okay, without naming names or particular events, have you ever looked at it when you've got it through on the email and gone, oh, for fuck's sake?
No, genuinely.
You're not?
No, genuinely not. I think that, no, genuinely not. I never feel like that. I feel that the referees in the southern area, I mean, are generally very fair on 9. Do I disagree with some decisions? Yes, but I would say that 95% of the time they get it right. I haven't found that the same with Northern and Midlands judges.
Yeah. Give Kieran McCann more work. I like Kieran.
Good referee, fair.
Young, get that new blood into the sport, get it mixing up a bit.
Kieran calls it as he sees it. And that's all you're asking. You just want them to call it as they say it.
Yeah. John Bailey's an interesting one. What impact does pay-per-view football have on pay-per-view boxing? Considering some pay-per-view boxing may be up against 1 or 2 pay-per-view football games that day or night. So if you're a casual sports fan and you've got, I don't know, pick Man United Burnley on the Saturday afternoon leading into Chisora Usyk. I've just made those up. I don't know what games are on that day, but if you're being asked to fork out 15 quid for the football in the afternoon, then 20 quid in the evening for the boxing, where does the impact sit? Do you?
Well, the only people that will pay for pay-per-view football those games will be Man United or Burnley fans. Me, I couldn't give a toss. I'll watch it if it's on Sky or BT. I'm not paying £15 to watch a game of football. Even if it's Arsenal, I'll watch it in a different way. But from my point of view, does it have an impact? Probably has. It's like everything has an impact. We leave with a no-deal Brexit. How much impact does it have on GDP? There'll be a percentage. How much impact will it have on views? It'll have a percentage. 2%, 3%. Not enough to put it off. It will have an impact, but it won't be major.
What do you think of the price point? 15 quid for the football for an individual game.
Ludicrous.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they said 15 quid for a game is what happens when you leave 20 millionaires to sit in a room and discuss how much a game of football should be.
Ridiculous. No, they're going to pay that. Surprised that I don't think they'll get big numbers. People are streaming. You can stream nowadays. You can get these games from anywhere. People don't mind paying, like Lomachenko Lopes, get up, pay 10 quid for a really good fight. Pay it, no problem. You want to pay it because you want the people to benefit who's putting that fight on. You're not going to pay for this.
But the problem is the model's all wrong, because I got up and paid 10 quid for Lomachenko Lopes because they're the best two in the world of what they're doing, give or take. You know, they're in the top 10
Correct.
of the best in the world. I don't have to pay additional for the Champions League final, but I'd have to pay additional for Tottenham, Tottenham Burnley, Tottenham Southampton, whatever game isn't going to be shown by Sky, so they pick that for pay-per-view.
Boxing Usyk Chisora. How's Usyk Chisora pay-per-view ahead of Lomachenko Lopes? No, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But listen, people, I can say what I believe. Other people will differ. Then if people don't buy it, then they won't supply those sort of fights. But if people want to pay it, then they are encouraging more of those sort of fights. So it means it is pay-per-view if people are paying it. It's by people's numbers and payments that decide whether these things are pay-per-view. So really, I thought it was worth paying for. I paid it. They can give me a Lomachenko Lopes fight every 2 weeks and I'll pay for it. They could give me a Usyk Chisora fight every 2 weeks. I won't pay for it. That's my choice. So
yep. Some Asian boy on Twitter who I met down at the K Prosper Bilal Rahman fight in Dunstable. I can't remember if I got his name right. Bilal Rahman, whoever it was. Any news on potential opponents for K Prosper and Linus's next fight? That's the first part of it. So you've been trying to get K the fights with.
So I'm trying to do what I can for K. It's very difficult. We're in lockdown. It's very, very difficult. It's not like this is not a. So really, it isn't like we can't do shows at the moment. It's whether we can get the opportunities like we did for Linus. We're trying all the time with K. It's not easy, as I just mentioned with Kay and sending a text to Eddie Hearn earlier. And we try, but we can't magic it. So and Linus, there's no news. He just had a fight 3 weeks ago. So,
yeah. And since Kay has now returned home and boxed in Luton, can we expect to see Linus box in Luton next year, COVID permitting?
Linus would not fight at Dunstable Leisure Centre if you paid him a load of money. He does not want to devalue his brand by boxing there. And I totally agree with him. Dunstable Conference Centre is an ideal venue if you're doing a small dinner show, and if you're doing that for a particular purpose. For a normal open boxing event, it is a very good idea to bring up for kids that are maybe developing to have a fight or two there. It's not a great venue. It's more of an unlicensed boxing venue. For an English champion to go, Kay did it, right? So that's up to Kay. It wasn't my decision, it was his decision. But for an English champion to fight there, I think it devalues the brand, devalues where they sit and where they are. But Kay wanted to do it, so that's great. Linus has no interest in fighting there. In terms of venues in Luton, it becomes difficult. We do want to do a local show for Linus if we can, but we were looking at other venues in the area, but it wasn't there. I would not. By the way, I'm not slating off the venue. I'm slating off the venue for certain fighters. I couldn't take Linus off of fighting on Sky TV and put him in Dunstable Conference Centre. I mean, he's better than that.
Yeah. I mean,
Luton struggles for venues. So, yeah, it's something that we are looking at. We've got something in mind for next summer. We have, but it's not. It's something near Luton because Luton doesn't have the venues that we would like. And Dunstable Conference Centre is a venue that you can use for certain things, but in an open show which holds 500 people. For an English champion to go there, I know you were there, but it's not the one. It's not the one.
No. And outside of Kenilworth Road, there isn't really anywhere in Luton. Kenilworth Road's a massive financial commitment and all the other bits that will come with it.
Correct. So the things we're looking at, you've got to remember these fighters that are being developed. They're used to fighting in more prestigious arenas. It's great for those starting up wanting a fight or two, but that's what those venues are for.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. The next question was from Riku, or Lead Right on Twitter. So, where is it? Bear with me. What things do you consider when your fighters are offered short notice fights on televised cards?
Okay. I've been offered loads. So, firstly, are they fit? Are they fit?
Right.
I had another one last week. Was just offered. Somebody I signed recently. The TV promoter went to them directly without coming through me, not realizing that I was the manager. So the person got excited. I then turned the fight down. And the person who was involved agreed in the end, and the trainer didn't want to do the fight either. So the first thing is, are you fit? If you are fit, what is your purpose? Is your purpose just to pick money up? And is it just you're a journeyman and you want to receive money? Is your purpose that you want to build a career? If you want to build a career and you haven't got the preparation, it's a no-go. And that's really what we've done. We haven't had many fights. If you look at what we've done, Robbie Chapman's had a couple of fights. Ozzy Jervier's having a fight. They're both in the journeyman mode. Jumaane wants to have a fight because he's still mandatory for the Southern Area title. So even if that fight doesn't win, he's still going to drop back and contest for the Southern Area title as soon as we're back open again. So that's logical, but he wants to have a fight in the meantime, even if it's just the one. So it doesn't devalue his career. But I'm not going to be sending my prospects to lose. Jerome Campbell was the other one who had a fight on the Frank Warren show. He was desperately wanting to have a fight, so he had they gave him the preparation, so there was no excuses, and he wasn't good enough to win. So, but he wanted the fight. But for the prospects, the ones that I'm building, I would rather them not fight at the moment, and we can build up. And if you're going to be good enough, you're going to get there anyway. But you can sacrifice your prospects by going in and losing a fight and taking a fight for the wrong reason for certain boxers. So it's trying to assess what the boxers' mentality is, what they want out of it, where their career is going, but then are they fit enough to not get hurt in that fight? And then we then try and evaluate it. But no, I would not take a prospect short notice fight, which we've had loads of them, for a fighter to go in and just get for not great money, lose their record and probably not fight again.
If you said a fight was typically worth £5,000,
yeah,
hypothetically, and you know your fighter's not necessarily ready, but they could still make the weight without putting themselves at risk, but they haven't been training properly. They're possibly not going to win, probably not going to win. If it's normally worth £5,000, what would be the number that would make you accept it so that it's beneficial for the fighter? Is it like £10,000?
It depends. If you've got, say I've got Amar Kiani, right, who makes a lot of money from fighting on small hall. There's no amount of money for him that makes it worth it, because he's going to get there anyway, and he's going to make a load of money while he's getting there next year. If you've got a fighter that's verging on, says, look, I'm 7-0 now. I really don't want to sell tickets anymore. I want to take a fight. I want to cash out my unbeaten record. Then that's different. Then you'd evaluate and say, well, look, if you offer me $5,000 for a 10 grand fight, I'm not taking it. I was offered a fight the other day for somebody against a really top cruiserweight, top cruiserweight, right? And so it can be one of a few, because there's a few out there. And the money's rubbish. Why am I going to send, they're chasing Mark Little, for example, to go and fight a top cruiserweight for little money when I'm building Mark towards a Southern Area title? There's no money. Well, there's probably money Mark would take it, but then you've got to remember the money on offer now generally is under the odds. They're paying less than they would normally pay.
It's a buyer's market.
Buyer's market. So you're not even getting good offers. the reason I took the Linus Udofia fight on Sky, he wasn't getting the money that title deserved, but we thought it was a fairly easy win to get live TV exposure. So we took less money than we would normally want because of the opponent we were against. If he was offered Felix Cash, for example, you'd have wanted 5 times that, 10 times that amount of money to do it. So it's relative towards, you've got to make a decision, and every fight is individual. But we believe we make the right decisions for each fighter because everyone's independent. So I don't think you can give a generalisation on numbers because every fighter is unique and got a unique situation.
Okay. Final question from Oliver McManus on Twitter. After Martin predicted Teofimo Lopes to beat Vasyl Lomachenko, does his mystic bull predict any more upsets? I haven't really looked through the schedule, if I'm honest. I live by what's coming up this weekend rather than what's going on in a few weeks. So
I can't see any upsets at the moment out there. I think
no, there's none that spring to mind.
You say they may come up, but none of the big fights. I mean, like Povetkin, is that an upset if Povetkin wins again? Was it really an upset that Lopes won? I don't think that was really an upset. I think we all thought that if it hadn't come too soon, he had a good chance of winning. So I don't really think that was an upset. I wasn't shocked by that.
Yeah, the only ones that would, that are announced at the moment that would be shocked if they happen would be Chisora beating Usyk.
Well, it's not going to happen. That's not happening.
Yeah, that doesn't happen, does it? So, we've seen...
Had a ranking beat Savannah Marshall? Probably not. Does, so really, where are we sitting? So, yeah, I can't see any real hot favourites that are likely to lose as we sit here.
No, so I'm going to protect my undefeated record at the moment and wait until the right opportunity comes up. And then I'll make another prediction. Who do you think wins the rematch, Denzel Bentley or Mark Heffron?
Bentley. I thought Heffron would win, probably was favourite in the first match, but I think Bentley has got the most improvement in him, has got the more adjustments to make. So based on the fact that was the first time Bentley had been in deep, I thought he performed really well, and I think he can improve a lot more. So I would say Bentley is favourite for the second fight.
I would say Bentley wins it and will win it, if not by stoppage, then by wide points win. Because I think not just about going deep, but Heffron carried that reputation. I know Liam Williams blew it away a little bit, but he carried that reputation of a big puncher, powerful puncher, dangerous man. Bentley's seen Denzel's seen all of that now. He's been in there. He's felt the power. It didn't move him particularly. I think he will go in, and I think we'll see quite a wide victory, be my guess.
Don't disagree.
Right, that's all the questions. We're done.
Brilliant. Thanks, Martin. Appreciate it.
No worries at all. Thank you very much. Hope everybody tunes in again next week. Go and follow Jumaane, by the way, on Twitter, Instagram.
I'll get Ellie Scotney on next week.
Oh, yeah, let's get Ellie on. I love Ellie to bits. And she wished me happy birthday on Sunday, bless her.
I'll try and get her on next week. I'll see if I can get her next week.
Yeah, let's do that. And maybe we'll get Hannah Rankin, sorry. Let's try and get her on before she fights Savannah as well.
Okay. We'll see what
happens.
Brilliant. Thanks, Martin.
Tune in next week. We'll see what we can get. Take care.